that was in front of our house. But it was covered up. You couldn't, anything higher than a small car, you couldn't see it till you almost passed it.
Well, you're on.
We're ready to go anytime you are.
All right, then I'll shut up. I don't think anybody's got a problem. Do you? Okay. I'm done.
Okay, we're a ship without a captain
Momentarily.
momentarily. So I'll go ahead and volunteer to run this meeting and call the meeting to order at the time that Kim will note that I don't have my phone right here.
I think at 4:05.
At 4:05. Oh, there it is, right there. That's just for some, we'll go by your clock there, Kim, 4:05. And the first order of business is the minutes from the last meeting that we had was April 4th. And it was here. And I know it seems like a century ago. And we did not have the pleasure of having Carl with us then. So hopefully we can get on board and take a look. So I hope everybody's had a chance to review the minutes from the previous meeting.
The other thing you might want to do is do a roll call.
Thank you. We'll do a roll call and
Sheila Shannon,
here,
Judy Baldini,
Here.
Scott Savage,
Here.
Carl Benson.
Here.
Also present is Ron Vukovich. Are you everybody?
I move we approve the minutes of April 4th, 2022.
okay, before any discussion, is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Can't remember that one.
I'll call the vote. All in favor of approving the minutes as presented? With an aye? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next order of business is public comments from the floor.
Anyone?
38/7, Henry V. Alessandro. They removed that tree last year, I guess, when, June or July, and I'm still on a stump. They never came back in grand face.
You have a picture of it in your packet, and I gave it to Furio, and he is going to add it to the list. So it's,
Okay,
but he wanted them to be aware of it also.
thank you.
So we don't have to make a motion to add it to the list. It's already on the list. Okay.
But it should be recognized also that we did put a tree in there, correct?
Yes,
Yep.
separate spot,
Yep.
separate location,
And the important thing is, how is it doing?
doing fine. It's not the same as the other tree there, though, but it's different brand. I'm not too familiar with the brand.
Same species, but different cultivar.
Well, different color.
Yeah.
The leaves.
So that's what I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
What did we put in?
But then
What was put in?
a red bud, forest
The
pansy.
forest pansy one?
If they remove,
Special.
that's fine, great. If they remove the the stump, you can put another one there, it's fine with me. I have no problem. I'm saying if you have, I have no problem with it.
We
Then
have
I'll
them
put grass
there.
in it.
We have them laying around.
Then I'll put grass back in.
Well, I wish I removed stumps, anyhow, but I don't.
Okay.
Yep.
So we're not putting another tree in place, so I can. take
Well,
it-
well, you never know.
Well, you don't want to put the grass in if you're gonna dig it out again.
When you, Kim, you said that Furio was aware of this, is that, did he happen to mention that the city's going to remove?
No, what they do, he said, is they have, once they get several stumps, then they'll bring somebody in to do them all at
Okay.
once. So it might not be this week, but as soon as we,
But he's on some list.
he is on the
That-
list.
okay.
You're on the stump list.
Right, and I think the problem
So I
was,
thought it wasn't a year ago.
yeah, it's smaller and it's on that little,
And
it's not really easily visible. I had to walk by it a couple times or to drive by it. So I think it was just because it's not as big of a one as we usually deal with.
By next year, the stump will be gone.
To be honest, you're right. Right. You're right, Joe.
But don't give them false hopes.
So what's the end? We put another tree in or not?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't been there to look to, to really see what's going on. I was so pleased that we found another one for you and put it in that
Well, I'm just saying
Yeah,
about a
yeah.
plant grass, if you're gonna come in.
I'm not sure, but we'll try to do whatever we can for you.
Not really an answer. Either yes or no. If you
Well-
don't wanna put it in, let me know, I'll put grass in. That's what I'm asking. Not you're gonna come in afterward, I'll put the grass in, they're gonna dig it up. So.
More than likely, that's what'll happen.
He says, I mean, tree's fine, I just put grass in, I'll come in 4 weeks from now and dig it out. Then I'll be upset.
How many trees do we have on the list to do? I mean, would it end up to be low on the
As far as
priority list?
planting?
Oh,
Is that what you mean?
I really don't know. I haven't looked at it. I've been watering 27 trees over the last 4 days.
Yeah,
So I haven't given much thought to planting trees. I'm just trying to keep them alive.
Yeah,
Well,
getting-
I understand that part, like I said, so let's put on record, no, there will be no tree put in there. I'm
tree
fine,
put in. Yeah,
right?
Yep.
I'm fine with that.
it's not a good time to plant trees,
no, this is a bad time now. in the heat.
but
You
you
don't
can. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm good with it.
all right.
Any other? Okay.
Rod Miller, 124 East Third Street.
Mhm.
I need to find out what's going on, if anything, with my tree. I'd asked several times for it to be removed. I got denied. I needed an issue of it, and I got practically the whole tree commission made a personal appearance. Came out last July, so it's been almost a year, and told me at that time, okay, we can see your point, and we're gonna do some serious trimming. And they said, we'll come out and supervise. And it was showing me which branches were gonna be trimmed back, and just, I wouldn't recognize it was gonna be some. Well, here we are a year later, and nothing. And I came back some months later, got to look it up. I don't know if it was late fall, early winter. But the reason I came back was because unbeknownst to me, in the middle of the night, bad storm, knocked a big branch off the tree across the street, which is also a terribly distressed tree, and off of mine. I slept through it somehow. I guess not, I was the only one on the street that slept through it. But it damaged my neighbor's car right next door to me, damaged the neighbor's car across the street. Their tree did, not mine. Mine damaged my own next door neighbors. I didn't find that. Unbeknownst to me, the city had come out and had cut my cable wire to get the branches out. Nobody ever, to this day, nobody's ever acknowledged that or said a word to me. It took me 2 days from calling Verizon to figure out that somebody cut my cable. Okay, and Verizon came out, and fixed it up. But anyway, I came to your meeting then, and I was, very upset. I called the city council president, about it. And I was told at your meeting at that time that I was gonna be put way up on the top of the, well, if I'm way up on top of the list, I'd like to see the list. Okay, because I was hoping at least maybe in the winter time when the tree was dead, okay, now would probably be an excellent time, to take care of this. Now, of course, the tree is completely leafed out. It's way, way over top of my roof. It goes like this when the wind blows, and it's just a continuous, disaster waiting to happen. So the next bad storm, it's gonna happen again. So who do I direct my anger and complaints toward? You folks or the city administrator? Because that's what I need to know. I've just tried to stay in the background on this and took everybody at their word, but when you tell me a year ago what you're gonna do, and it's a year later and nothing, and I was supposed to be like at the top of the list, I wanna see this list. So
I'd like to see it
who
too.
do I complain to?
This is something, this is a piece of business that I thought we'd talk about later, but we might need to talk about it sooner. We thank John left us, John Antonio left us, and he was our president, and we don't have anybody to take his place. So I will volunteer to chair meetings and run them with Robert's Rules of Order and do that. But we need somebody to be a point of contact. The city wants one person to talk to about what needs to be done and what they don't want 3 and 4 of us talking to them. So they want one person. So we need somebody to be that point of contact. You volunteered to do that? Okay. So then, Scott, maybe you can find out what's on that list, where it is, and
Well, I
Kim,
think,
you can,
Sheila, if I might help just a minute here, that I think that Kim already started the list for us. And it has all the applications on it.
is that a new version of that?
I
Now,
have a new version and I also brought it on a thumb drive. But the 2 trees that Mr. Miller's talking about, I put these applications back into the packet that in the older applications. And I talked to Fury about those today, and both of those are supposed to be pruned by a professional with somebody from the tree commission. And he tried to do that several times, but because of the situation with people on and off, being off the board, they haven't been able to do it. But anytime somebody on the commission who wants to oversee that, they will bring in, he's already talked to the tree people, and they just need somebody from the commission to be there to oversee which limbs. But they can do both of them, and they are on the list, and he has contacted the tree service. But it's just a matter of getting somebody on the tree commission to work with them
I'll do it.
because of the
no,
situation.
it's not someone on the tree commission, it's the arborist, Sam Sale.
Okay,
And Sam, through the courtesy of Tom Maddox, has met with the city administrator, and it was fine with him if we wanted to take money out of our budget to pay him. And so that, I think that's a clear case of where Sam needs to be involved. It's a fairly complicated one because you have your tree and then the one across the street with the neighbor. Although they've lost part of it, I realize that big limb on the neighbor's side also blew down. But it's still, your 2 trees are kind of entwined. So if someone just starts cutting up there to separate the trees, it could turn out to be kind of messy.
okay, so if he could possibly contact Furio can get the company, because the company's on board, they're ready to go whenever we're ready.
Okay.
So if we can get those 2 entities together, then
Yeah.
it can happen very quickly.
Well, Sam is coming this Wednesday. This will be his second visit to trim all our new trees.
Mhm.
So I can show him that one. And I don't know if he saw it before, Tom. Did you introduce him to it?
I did.
Yeah. I thought you were over
I
there
was
with
thinking
him.
maybe we were together when we did it,
Yeah,
but no, we went down and looked at that tree.
Yeah.
And made comments. But he
right.
was waiting to be hired
Yeah,
before he could.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
It took a long time.
Well, apparently it's fine. It comes out of the TAC budget. If that's fine with you all. I'm just,
No problem.
I'm you know, I think at least in some of these special instances where they are fairly complicated,
Yeah.
it's way beyond our expertise to go out and start saying, yes, you know, please do that.
Well, I would hope, Scott, that maybe you would, is it
I
okay
wanna
if
be
Scott
there
be
anyway.
involved in that
Mhm.
too? Because
If
he
you-
can,
Yeah. I
then he
will.
can come back and report to us
Right.
what happened and of course you need the arborists to do the actual.
And I
picking
could
the
give you
limbs.
Sam's number and everything, and yeah, and that certainly doesn't preclude anyone else on the.
Yeah, I
commission
would
from being
think that you
involved.
might,
Yeah, yeah.
might want to.
Yeah.
To do that.
So it might be good if maybe Scott and I could just go visit with Sam a minute and see what his thinking is on it. Again, he'll be here all day Wednesdays. So if you wanna get-
Well, do you want to get a hold of me once he gets here?
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. Yeah,
Well,
yeah. Appreciate it.
This kind of brings up something I had mentioned before, back in April, where we had, I suggested that we have 2 city pruning lists or 2 lists. One where it's definite that we need supervised pruning.
Right.
And the other can just be, well, this is on the removal list, or, you know, something
Yeah.
that we don't have to stand around for. But in this process, I think what we need is some kind of procedure where, okay, this is, this particular Rod's tree and the neighbor's tree is on this list. Sam is coming, and here's the dates, you know,
Right.
who wants to be, or whatever, so that we are aware, you know, in the loop, not after the fact, but as, you know, during the fact. So if that can be like communicated.
Right, and Judy said, this list that Kim has put together, I think is a wonderful start.
Yeah, I think that's,
And
you know, I
it
think
has
that,
both the removal, the
Right.
trimming and the dates and everything. I just went through it and updated my own list here, and it's fairly good until we get to maybe about page 4 or so of this, and it's at the time, 2020, Tom, this goes way back when the Rumleys wanted some trees in front of their place. We did that, but right below that, it says Kathy Warner, 103 Harmony Street. And, you know, that's 2 years ago. Rod, 2 years ago. That tree is still there. It's a silver maple, and this, well, some of this committee agreed to remove it.
100%.
right.
Yeah, yeah, like remove the whole
Has to have it removed.
doggone
The
thing,
danger to the buildings.
right? And then put more trees in there. So
Avoid being sued.
I would appreciate if the folks coming to visit us would bear with us. This is something that just hasn't been done here on this committee before. And as you might expect, the people here want this to work successfully. And we appreciate your coming in and bringing it to our attention. And we have to bear the embarrassment of it not being done in 1 year and then looking back and then seeing, holy cow, you know, 2 years, you know. So, and it took almost that length of time, and you know, for your tree to be cut down, right? Yeah, because you came in, your brother came in, and hence, the very least we could do for you was to put a tree in, which we did, yeah.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
It's alive also.
If gosh knows if we can, we'll try to put a third one in, yeah. It deserves it. If we can make up in some small way, with Rod's case, we can, right?
Send stuff down and trim it.
Yeah,
Midnight, so then midnight.
Hey, I don't
trim
care.
those
I'm
branches.
more than happy to do that. I'm awake anyway.
well, excuse me for blurting out, but this is, you know, this is great, Kim. This is the right track. And I would think at every meeting, you know, we would pull this
We would
thing
pull
out
it
and
out.
say,
Exactly.
you know, and then we know where we were, and then you folks wouldn't have to come in. You know, and we wouldn't have to be embarrassed, right? We can do better.
Well, can I just say something? I mean, I don't know that you need to be embarrassed. I'm just here to find out what's going on. I understand you've had some
Well-
transitions, new members and whatnot, but see, at the city council meetings, they only give you 3 minutes
Right.
to complain, and they definitely cut you off at the knees, especially if they don't like what you're talking about. So I tend to not want to talk about trees in my 3 minutes. You see, so that's why I come here. So I don't mean to be yelling at you, but that's why I'm asking, okay, well, is it a matter of the city just doesn't want to pay for it?
No,
Or is it a matter of there's just a lack of communication?
but it's communication and it's a history. It's just a history of not having a document like this that you can rely on. And it might also be the case that we're doing something good here and that people want to come in. People want to talk about their trees. You know, my neighbor just painted their tree blue and then came down and, and talked to me about it, the significance of what it meant, whatever.
I leave work early just to come and sit at the meeting here.
Yeah. So at least people are paying attention, and I think that's great. And the more they do, the more, more people talk about it, and Sam gets out and works with them. That can only be healthy for the community.
But we don't physically go out and dig up the trees and
Yeah.
do that
Well,
trimming.
most of us do.
No. Some,
Anybody who's
Most
interested,
of
I
us
have
do.
one I'd like to get rid of, so,
Not in our purview to actually do the physical work. We are subjected to a process, and that's what we are really trying to streamline, coordinate, and,
Yeah.
and I think we're, and now that we have a transition that is complete, at least for a little while, I think some of this will move forward a little bit faster.
Yeah.
Again, we're still at the mercy of the city who does the work,
Mhm.
but,
Given this, sir?
are we okay to see if there's any other comments, Mr. Miller, or do you still?
Well, I'm still a little bit confused then. Are you saying then that like when I'm told a year ago that I'm at the top of the list, that there's a list, but it's not exactly.
Well, there is a
yeah,
list.
yeah, There is,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it's been printed out and
So-
we're in the throes of you updating it. I think you gave us this maybe, 6 months ago or?
Right,
Yeah.
it's a living document.
Yeah.
And there are some updates, but there's also, Furio has a list of the ones that have been done.
Right.
And that's the list where I think they're talking about
Yeah.
the top. But I think that with that one, it's a matter of all the pieces were sort of coming together under the radar and now they.
Right.
feel like they're-
And I think the good part of this, and going back through it, it's amazing how much has been done. There were about 9 trees that were on the list and all of them are essentially gone, but the silver maple belonging to Kathy Warner. Lots of trimming going on, the 2 trees, 59, 57 on the Strand. Unfortunately, 2 trees on West Fifth Street, right next to the apartments at 500. Those 2 trees were cut because of the wires right down the middle, and you have a canopy on one side and nothing on the other, but they weren't trimmed. And I think that's the kind of thing we're trying to avoid. Get the arborist in there, so before any cutting is done, we don't end up with 2 things that people, who own the property are saying, oh my God, this is awful. Would you please take the 2 trees out? I'm happy to pay any amount of money to put 2 trees in. So it's kind of a, learning thing. And unfortunately, over the decades, we've taken a lot of trees out, but we haven't paid much attention to tree care. But thanks, Rod, for bringing it up. Yeah.
So then. is it safe
Well,
to
the
say-
answer very directly is Sam Sayo is coming here Wednesday. He and I will come down with Scott to look at the trees. And then it's up to Furio to get the company to, get in touch with Sam.
Do you
Sam,
think it would be prudent to have the company, to see if Furio can get the company there that day or let him look at it?
I think
first?
that'd be wonderful if we could.
Okay, so
yeah.
he said, let them know that.
Yeah.
there we go.
So we're gonna be there. Yeah,
I'll tell Furio to
on
contact
Wednesday.
them.
And we can pick the time according to when the people can actually do the trimming, because Sam will just be wandering around the town, clip, 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 yeah. Thank you, Kim, yeah. Does that help at all?
So I'm somewhere here near the top.
Listen,
You're closer.
I'm shouting, I can
Listen.
yell and they can hear me up there.
Rod will be there at 10:01.
Your arm.
We can always look at the weather and wait for another like awful storm and make it out, take a few.
No, we're not, you're not gonna get away from us now. It's Wednesday.
If
I'll be there.
if the tree persons were available.
Yep.
But,
I know, always that proviso in
but they'll be there, okay.
the fine print.
Are there any other comments from the?
After looking at the picture, I did have a question about that tree that's basically left to just a canopy by the library. Is that tree past the point? It just has to be,
There were 3 trees that I put on the list today. I only put 2 on because I didn't want to use up all the time with them. But the third one was that tree.
Mhm.
And Tom and I had gone along Delaware and decided that that was a good looking tree. It was a honey locust. It needed to be trimmed around the bottom. But unbeknownst to us, someone came in and trimmed it down, and there's another tree. Your canopy on one side, nothing on the other side, and it's just, what is it?
so in that situation, would you, to balance it out, do you have to take the canopy out or trim it back?
It's above the lines. Most of the canopy, kind of starts at the lines and is
Mhm.
above. I was just gonna recommend to the committee to consider taking it out.
Mhm.
That and the 2 trees alongside of 500, right across from the post office there. Might take a quick look at those. So there are 3 more trees that might be considered to be out of there. You might have a very different opinion, you might look at it and say, well, I think those are savable.
And in that instance, since it's a pretty predominant noticeable place, you would replace the trees.
Absolutely. If that tree comes out, that whole side of the street is essentially barren except for the 2 trees down at the end by 400, the Bridgewater house that we just put in. There are no other trees on that whole side of the street.
Sure.
So it's a project for the committee to think about what to put in there. And if you go down to the next block in front of Bridgewater Jewelers, there are the 2 down at the end. One is dead. Those are European hornbeams. The other is starting to go. Those are quite old. So there are 2 trees to take out there, meaning that the committee again has an opportunity to plant trees all along another street, go up the next street in front of the Booth House, start somewhere around the Booth House and go straight on down, all the way down to the bank. So you've got 3 blocks right on Main Street, all along there to put trees in. Which leads me to another point. The trustees have graciously given us another $2,500 to plant trees, but along the Main Street. They'd like to see the project continue on and move forward with that. Hopefully we might.
Perfect money, perfect timing.
Yeah, well, I think they were trying to be helpful, and I applied for a grant under my under Trees for Historic Newcastle, LLC, and I gave them 3 options, and that was one they took. So continue on with the Main Street. I think on the city level, there's a groundswell for getting something going all the way down from the ferry cutoff on Main Street, all the way down to the Battery. Yeah, we've got a lot of trees to put in. And can we water them is the question.
That's a serious question.
It is a serious question. I've been on 4 days. And apparently what happened was they were watering this Thursday and Friday, and then the pump broke or generator broke or whatever, but nobody told me. I just found out at 5 o'clock Friday because I was just kind of poking around wondering, has everything been watered? And I came up with 27 trees that, in my opinion, had not been watered. So starting Friday at 5 o'clock until just a little bit ago, I've got all the trees done but 3. That's only about 5 gallons per tree. And each tree needs 20 gallons.
What are you doing? You're going out there with,
Sir, I'm going around with buckets. I've got 4 buckets in the back of my car and that's what I'm doing. I don't have a pump. I don't have something. I just got a hell of a sore back that I keep carrying around. And it's kind of making me, unfortunate, Scott, just a tad irritable.
You should do a bucket brigade,
It's what?
a bucket brigade.
you need to do it
Yeah.
right.
Well, the bucket brigade was Friday was my wife helping. And then Saturday, it was another young fellow helping and then another young fellow helping on Sundays. And Tom was kind enough to give us his hose. And we actually,
You can come back for it anytime.
bless your heart, we actually filled 3 bags with Tom's hose and excuse me for going off on a thing, but it is a serious question, isn't it? You know,
Well, we've been talking about it for 2 years. I said 2 years ago,
you know,
that I would, if they would just get us something, get us a tank with with a pump and figure out a way to get it around, I would do it.
Well, listen, you're
Can I
on.
say something
Yeah.
About that, 'cause I had no idea that much. How long, to what age did the newly planted trees need that
2
kind of
years.
water? 2 years.
They need it for probably 3 years and then, yeah,
At least.
well, it depends. If
2
they're
years
a
at least.
ball of burlap, you know, they're cutting 50% of the roots away. And so it probably takes what, Carl, about 3 years to generate?
I would say at least 3.
And I'm assuming that was something that everybody took into account when you got the grants and started planting all these trees, right? Or not? Because that's a
Well-
lot of water, that's a lot of work.
We signed stuff that said that we knew it had to be done.
Yeah. Well, and to the city's credit, you
They
know,
could have done
it's,
this.
a lot of it has gotten done.
Mhm.
Especially when, when George O'Neill was here. George was a good friend of the committee and everything, rolled along pretty well. And I'm certain that Mr. Bartel, who's helped put a lot of money into this, wants these things done. I had recommended that we get a private person to do it. I don't know exactly, who that would be or a company or whatever. And because I know there are some people in the city crew that are not, really receptive to this idea that it's not part of what they normally do. It's an abnormal request for me to hang around the trolley barn and, try to solicit help. And recently, when I told one person that it would take 3 years, his hair caught on fire, it was a shock. I mean, he thought, maybe if we do this a year, that, everything will be all right. 78 trees right now have to be watered. So you could give me a lot of heat on that one and say, Ron, that's really a foolish thing to do, to plant that many trees and so many big trees. And,
How could you have known?
Well,
that
we never know. And how could the people here know that the, machinery would go bad? And could happen with anyone. I'm taking way too much time. You've got a lot of things on your list.
I'll take 2 of my minutes at the next council meeting.
I think they're trying to work it out. It's not,
No,
it's an issue.
you're overly optimistic.
I have been for 4 years.
Yep.
Well, let me just say one last, I don't know, I don't really know how the grants work. I mentioned when I was here the last time, I was here, I know I spoke a little bit about grants. I have a little bit of knowledge about this from when I lived in New Jersey. And working with the Shade Tree Commission, they called it over there. But, when you apply for grants, again, I don't really know what kind of grants and what kind of, strings they have attached to them, but ought that not be, the watering, the 3 years of 20 gallons a day watering for a tree, ought that not be something to be taken into account with the grants, or are the only grants available? Nope, this is just for the planning, the rest of it's on you guys. Is that how they work? because it's something that really obviously needs to be taken into account. What's the point of going through all that time, money and trouble if you don't have the people watering the trees?
Yeah.
They're just gonna die.
I think a lot of it is so-called new territory. You know, how the number of trees that have been, put in and the new vision, if you will, particularly that this board and our new members and everything have, and the change of administration at, with George leaving and or retiring and all of that. I think a lot of it is just new territory and it has to be tweaked and worked out. And, we're trying, we're gonna, we're giving it our best shot.
Judy, you're absolutely right, and it was just this, the fall past that TAC actually bought some trees.
But yeah.
The first time.
Mhm.
And prior to that, I don't think there is anything in our ordinances that says that we should be planting trees, right? I mean, that it's basically a tree removal committee.
I'd have to look at the news, because it was changed, when it changed from the tree commission to the tree advisory commission, it was rewritten in its entirety.
Tom, did you?
It's all questionable. I remember one of the things, first things that they said when I came on the tree commission, I'm confused about the number of years, 7 years or something of that sort. But anyway, that the city never bought trees. The city doesn't buy trees. That we get them by grant, but and as far as anybody couldn't remember back when the city had, and that was kind of explained to us. So we looked to see if there wasn't a way we could start getting some new trees,
Right.
Because there was all the attention was put on removal. So,
Yeah.
but we changed it.
Yeah, we changed, just the last few years. So I think Judy's right. This is a whole new effort to try to make it work.
Isn't it true that years ago they had a person that's all they did? They drove around and watered trees? I've heard this through the rumor mill.
Many years ago, they had a person that did the pots, the planted pots. And I think some of the, where the flower beautification had planted in like Dewey and up at the corner and all of that. And they had a guy that did it then, and he since, I believe, passed.
Did he use a city vehicle?
It was, he had that truck with a big tank on it. And he went around to all his public and public. Yeah,
City
yeah,
truck, of the city truck.
yeah. He was, he had, I don't know, it was deformity or he only had one arm. I remember that, and he did that, and at that particular time, I don't know that trees weren't being planted or anything. This was the pots and
Who would
the
we have to
planted
talk
areas.
to for me to be able to use that truck and go and water this stuff?
Kim?
I think the
It's probably
problem is
legal.
going to be legal, is going to be liability.
The city
From the fire.
the city administrator.
Well, then we,
I'm,
would
you
go
know,
for.
because this has been going on and we're spending all this money on trees and then they're gonna die. Just doesn't make any sense. I mean, then we're gonna have to spend next year's allowance on trees to replace the ones that we couldn't water this year.
Well, can I make a suggestion? And that could be in the form of, as Ron said, proposal, should we, we could write up something and propose that a person be hired. If we're going to continue, we have our vision, we have our, plans to move forward with numbers of trees and put that forth to council, to Bill, and, say, this is what we would like to see, how can we work that out? But in the meantime, I think we need to get to our new tree work application before we get too far behind. I mean, I'm not saying dismiss it, I'm saying that's what I think we should do, is do a proposal and.
Well, Judy, the suggestion back on that idea, which had already been proposed, was that it's a consideration that Mr. Bartel would make, but it comes out of your TAC budget.
Which means
Well,
we don't have any trees to plant because we can't buy them.
the problem is, we have to figure out how to put it all together. I mean,
Right.
you can't, for us to spend thousands of dollars planting trees, and then next year, watch them die because we can't water them, we might as well not plant them at all.
Yeah.
So that's that's the way this has gotta go to them. You can't, put all these trees, I mean, we've put a lot of time into the lists and everything else we put, and you work your rear end off along with other people. But, in the meantime, they're still not gonna live.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense.
Well, fortunately, we haven't lost a lot of trees. I think we have like about 5 right now. We took 3 out and we have 2 more to take out.
Isn't that because you water?
Well, it's hard to say,
Yeah,
Carl.
and
Yeah,
that's-
I wish I knew that equivocally.
I mean, could we go to the trust and say, this is our problem?
Yeah.
I mean, we can't keep putting money into trees and then next year put money into new trees and to replace, and then we're just throwing money in the garbage.
You're only 1 year into that big batch of trees from last year.
Yes,
right?
yeah, that's 78 we put in last year, spring and fall planting,
So you're pretty much maxed out on ability to water what you have
I think so, yeah.
for
Yeah.
at least 2
And the-
years,
It went,
at least for another 2 years.
well, it depends.
Well, can I suggest that maybe Scott, when you talk to Furio, you feel him out? I don't know that he has the answer, but give us some ideas of what we can.
Do we have a list of phone numbers and names of people that I need to talk to?
I know we don't have that all neatly tucked away, but it's a start. And
Mhm.
thank you, Scott. Okay, are there any other comments?
That's one last question. How long do you think it would take to water all 78 trees each week? Like
They were,
rough estimate?
they were doing it on a Friday and a Saturday, half a day. And that also included the 23 concrete containers that Judy was talking about earlier, that were bought and paid for by citizens in Newcastle 40 years ago. And they have their plaques on the front of them. And they were all over the town with, hadn't been watered and all messed up. And I grouped them all together, and John Antonio, bless his heart, brought a front end loader in and moved them all to the positions that they're in now. 13 down by the battery and 10 of them in the town. Yeah, all free, by the way, never received any bill or. And I'd just like to say something on John's behalf. I thought he was a excellent president, worked very hard for us and gave everyone an opportunity to chat about things. And
Thoroughly
I have a
agree.
long list of things that he's done, without any charge for the
Selflessly,
city.
he did.
Well, I
I'm not
know.
gonna read it, but I was surprised. I just wrote it up, and there are a number of them, including the last big thing, making 78 tree pits with a Toro Dingo and a 32-inch auger on the front, going from place to place to place, not all in one day, but maybe over about 5-6 days. Really quite incredible. And again, all thoughtfully done and all free. He and his men also took all the debris off the front of the post office. And all that overgrown juniper and everything, he removed all that, took it in. And then the other day, met with Carl and I and transferred the tree from in front of the stop sign down the way. So Tom, you were remembered very, very favorably by Judy and and you weren't here.
But we need to give the same recognition and thanks
Right,
to
yeah,
John. He
I
was
think,
really,
you know, I miss
tremendous,
both
tremendous help.
John and Tom and think they were
Yeah.
instrumental part of pushing us ahead a little
Right,
bit.
yeah, so this is a new,
Yeah, I think
a
they're
new
great.
organization.
Yeah.
In progress.
Yeah,
I hate to dwell on this, but, so one 8-hour day,
I would think 1 8-hour
if
day.
you were to pay somebody $15 an hour, 8 hours, $120 a week. That's because we have the
Are you
equipment.
looking for volunteers
don't know
to
if we
make
have
that money?
Well, but we think they have the equipment.
So, yeah,
So really all we
yeah,
need
I think.
One
we have the
person.
equipment.
to work 8 hours a week at $120.
Well, I would say more than that, because I can't get anyone to come to the garden for, less than $20, and then most people want 25. So I would say each week, $200, starting in probably about the 1st of May, second week in May, depending what.
But we first have to make sure we have something to water them.
Right, and then the last part of it is continuing watering after the leaves fall.
Yeah, even in the winter, yeah.
Well, right up to like Thanksgiving time.
Yeah.
Which we didn't do last year. I think we weakened a few trees. Tom, bless your heart, good to see you. Thanks for stopping in on us, yeah. And there were 3 trees that received the most heat all summer long. They're in the sun all day long, and those are the three trees that we just dug out. They're right at the point of the spear. It's an unforgiving landscape on Delaware Street. And we've taken all the bigger trees down, and now we just have sun, beating down all the
So
time.
Carl, what you're suggesting is that we have some numbers to put in a proposal, and this is what we would like to.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in my mind, you're looking at a relatively small amount of money.
Mhm.
Something like that. 6 months, that's.
Forgive me, I'm gonna leave. I've said way too much, and Carl, I'd like to give you this, to go with the 2 things that you have. Those are our accomplishments and proposal to the city council for money for last year and this year. So you have an idea of the kind of money that we're trying to receive.
Thanks, Ron.
Okay.
Thank you.
See you, Ron.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Ron. Sorry to see you go.
Okay, so let's, we'll keep moving and go to the new tree applications. Unless they're, if we're
I think we're ready.
finished with them. Are we looking at Charlotte Robertson?
And that one, Furia was looked at and feels it needs to be trimmed away from the house and away from the wire, but he just wanted the tree commission to be aware that it is on city land.
It's on city land?
It
Is
is,
that what you
yes,
said?
it's across the
So
street.
they're
from me.
taking care of it.
I think they're gonna take care of it, but he just wanted to get a vote on from the tree commission.
I mean, I think that there's no question it needs to be trimmed.
So this is not an MSC trimming. This is a city supervised trimming.
Right.
That's what we would recommend.
If you wanna, immortalize that, we could make a motion to have that tree trimmed by the city.
I make a motion to have that tree trimmed by the city.
Is there a second? Any discussion? Oh, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Okay, next one is Barbara O'Neill. West Sixth Street. This is a large sycamore in the wires.
Her concern was the one branch that's over her house. It's, I think at 33. West Sixth.
This 33, the dark bluish gray color.
Actually 30, it's the one that's before that. It's the,
The light gray.
yeah, the light gray. You can kind of see the number on the door.
My goodness, you've got good eyes.
Yeah.
Can't see that.
So this is the branch that actually comes out and loops down,
Right.
and that's over the house.
Looks like it would fall into the house.
It would, yeah, and I
I
mean,
don't think it's over it,
I-
but yeah.
just
But you
from
hit
the,
you hit the wires too, it looks like.
just from the dip, I can see from the shape that, you know, I don't think you would lose anything. You're not gonna unbalance the tree if that particular limb goes off. If just that one,
Make a motion. That we, that would be the city too. Recommend the city to trim that branch.
Do we know that that's not an MSC?
no, this doesn't look, well, see, pictures are hard to tell, and I hate doing this without, you know, running out and looking at the tree. I think we should have a mobile meeting.
What a brilliant idea, just this summer, is
Just all good.
have fun. 100 degrees.
Rent a minibus.
Could have done it today, it was only 70.
Yeah, today is nice.
Yesterday was even better.
To clarify, the MSC would be things that affect the utilities.
They're electric lines as opposed to Verizon wires or city.
I mean, it would be really both, because if
Yeah.
it came down, it could take the wires
You
down,
take
plus take the
It can
house.
take
Yeah.
two. The problem with the MSC doing the pruning,
Yeah,
They don't listen to what you
they
say.
don't, yeah,
well,
we try to,
they're not arborists.
yeah,
Right.
we've tried to, you know, coordinate so that, or get them to, actually, one time our suggestion was to have one of their people go to take arborist classes. But
They did the trees in front of Zolly's, right? MSC. Did they trim those on Delaware Street? In front of 400.
Yes,
but if we can,
yes, in front of 400.
if we
so
can
they
keep them
probably-
out, if I would suggest put it on the city list so that we could have some supervision over to make sure that it's only that branch.
Yeah.
Because it does look like if there's more branches that come down, it will.
It could throw it,
It would
although we
throw a
really can't
balance
see,
off.
can't
Yeah.
see the other side, that's the.
But one
But-
thing you might want to keep in mind is since this meeting's been put off for 2 weeks, you'll have a meeting in 2 weeks if you want to table anything to look at it. At the next meeting.
That's right, we'll
That's a
have
good
one
idea.
in 2 weeks.
Hmm.
Thank you, Kim. All right, I move we table this one so that we all get a chance to go out and look at it.
Second,
Second.
discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
I,
Okay. We will table it, motion carries.
For the one on, for Anna Burns, you might want to go to the, not the next one, but the one after that, that Mr. Bukolich put in for 500 Delaware Street. Because he's talking about the two maples that are on the side of 500 Delaware Street. And Anna Burns's application is for one of those trees as well. He wants to have it removed because it got into her sewer pipe. And she had requested to have it removed a few years ago when it was trimmed. But in the meantime, MSC has come through and retrimmed it. And the roots have gone into her sewer. She just had that cleaned out.
Is that the one on the right-hand side?
I think the furthest one from the, if you're looking at her picture, if you're looking at the one that Ron gave me, it's the second one. Yeah, it's like, I think the two that he's talking about are the one that's right there at and then the one in front of her house is the very next one.
Like the one across from my house.
When she has, documentation that it's in the sewer line.
She had it, she could give us the bill. She said she just had it,
Oh,
she
okay.
just had it cleaned out.
All right. So she's requesting removal. I agree. I so move.
So we have a motion to
Second.
remove this tree requested by Anna Burns. Okay. Any other discussion? All right. Take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, opposed?
Okay.
Okay. This one is one put in by Ron, 33 The Strand.
Yeah, not that he left. What did he want us to do?
I was with him the day we went to look at this. And that sidewalk is just absolutely
Mhm.
treacherous.
Mhm.
I think that's his focus. I don't think it was so much of taking the tree out, but having, the sidewalk dealt with.
So would we grind the roots,
Problem is, you gotta be careful, that's a big tree.
you know?
If you take the roots off of one side, you get a windstorm.
What I've seen done, some places where they actually will, you take the 2 blocks that go over the roots and you basically pour a concrete cover to them
Right.
and just kind of.
Bring it up to grade?
Just bring, so you're actually raising it up and going above,
Mhm.
instead of trying to go down.
Well, realistically, I think it's gonna be more than two, because I think you've got,
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But
To
either
prevent
way,
a
it's
tripping hazard,
gonna-
yeah. I saw that on, I saw that advertised where they injected some type of a foam or some type of a synthetic material to push the concrete up. That was a lot less expensive than digging up and repouring.
They
it.
actually do it
That's
right.
very-
They dig it, they cut a hole in the concrete, put this thing down in it,
Yeah.
it just lifts it up.
Yeah. I don't know that
That
this,
though is, would
That's
be
not-
pretty hard to do
Yeah.
with this.
yeah. Well,
Is the owner responsible for that? So not the code?
Yeah, see, this is not, this is not,
Yeah, so.
this is not something we just hand over to the city. That's the problem with this. I mean, it's not city job.
And I got the impression from listening to Ron talk that the owner was not being cooperative.
Hmm.
Not sure if
So
that's true.
that he wants it. Okay, I think I'd like to talk to Ron a little bit more about this, where we, I don't know how we can go forward.
Is the tree the city's responsibility?
That's a good question.
Is if this tree is the city's responsibility, by all intents purposes, then the sidewalk.
That has,
No,
no,
sidewalk
that
is the owner homeowner's
yeah, that has
responsibility.
Sidewalk is definitely in the, I mean, I went through a lot of time to try to find out. And Kim says it's definitely the owner's problem.
Yeah.
They told me.
That's
That's
a
what they told you to say.
long-standing issue.
Well, that's what, I mean, yeah,
Um,
that's, I think they've, yeah, we've had that,
Have they
Question.
softened that at all?
not that I'm aware.
Okay, I just recommend that we talk to Ron, he put it in, and we can figure out how to go forth with it because of who's responsible, who can, what can be done, what's feasible to be done.
All right, Judy, you want to put that in a motion?
I move that we table decision on 2022-10 until next meeting.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Discussion?
I can talk to Ron, like, I
Just
can
make
reach
sure he
Okay.
comes. Not leave early.
Can we have a motion that, we'll talk to Ron, but we can, amend that motion specifically for Carl to talk to Ron?
I make a motion that Carl talk.
All right, discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Next one is another one submitted by Ron. This is number 500 Delaware Street. This is the one we're down the street from what we're just talking about. Corner of the, yeah,
Wire, I mean,
the sad looking tree. Really sad looking tree.
And Ron's recommending removal. Was that what he said?
That's what I'm looking, trying to see what the recommendation is here, what the request
I
is.
thought he said it was.
I think it's appropriate. Yes,
I don't know why they trim, I mean, they've done that before, the way they trim right out of the center, it doesn't, I mean, it's just a.
Been
yeah,
unsupervised and not considered.
yeah.
All right, I make a motion that we approve.
The removal. Okay.
second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so moved.
The next one came in this, over the weekend. So it might have just,
Is that
I
the Gale?
saw this, yes, I saw this tree. She had actually asked me. About how she should proceed. The one branch is damaging the gutters. I mean, it's right there and whatever. Pretty much, I think, a no-brainer. The problem is, and I think somebody else might need to look at how far back we go to take that one branch out, because you can see how it goes
Mhm.
out. You can see part of it had already been cut years back. because that was going right into the house. The branch that, you know, you don't want to, what's that phrase where you just take the end piece off? That's definite not a no-no.
I mean, the problem with this is that you're looking at just the way this thing looks like it's already been trimmed, where it's
Yeah.
got all these openings. I mean, you
Right.
don't know what's on the other side. If it's like this, or if it's solid on the other side, anything you do over here is gonna have an effect. So I think we need to look at it.
I think, yeah, well, that's what I'm
Well,
saying.
yeah.
I would like, if you have a chance, go look at it. We'll table, I move that we table this one till everybody gets a chance to look at it. Till next meeting.
Second,
Second.
discussion. All right, move the vote. All in favor?
Um,
Any opposed? Motion carries. We table. Little bit behind here, so that's the. Okay. Are we at old business? Or am I?
Yes, I had put a separate packet with this, this is the first thing on it. This period just handed to me today. This, the post office has requested the tree that's exiting their parking lot onto Fifth Street. The trucks keep hitting it, to be trimmed or removed.
Anybody talk to the drivers?
Well, they're just hitting the branches. nothing else.
The photo doesn't really show the tree that.
Right, yeah, this is the only thing he had so far. So it's just a relatively new request.
I'd say table it and,
We can get an application filled out too.
yeah, and somebody will look at it. Make some,
Request that an application be submitted.
mhm.
And the next three were the two trees on Fourth Street, Mr. Miller's and Mr. Huntley's applications for those trees, which you've already talked about.
I'm sorry, the European hornbeam in front of Mr. Huntley's on 2080 East Fourth. Did we talk about that one?
Is that the one that's dead?
I'm not sure when this picture was taken, but it could be dead.
Well,
Canopy down everywhere else.
it looks like all the other trees around it.
Yeah,
Leaves.
they've got their canopy. Yeah.
So I'm gonna say it's dead.
Yeah. And
Oh,
I know that Ron did mention that it was a European hornbeam that had to come out.
actually, this is the picture from the other side, and it doesn't look like the other trees have leaves either.
But this was from the beginning, like from the last meeting of the first meeting of the
No.
year.
Oh, so this is only a few months ago,
Well, it was probably the beginning of the year,
so in January.
January, February.
So
Is it
then
this-
it's winter.
Then it's winter, yeah, then it's not.
I think we're gonna have to look at it. Then there's two.
Why are there two different?
Oh, wait. hold on.
He had wanted, there was two different applications. He had put it in to be removed and it was said they would trim it and then when he put it in to be removed again.
Oh,
A second application for the same tree.
So I think we need to go look at that.
You want to submit a motion there? Okay, second?
Second.
All right, discussion. Vote. In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Go, now file. Van Dyke, I guess.
This,
and
she
Harmony
called
Street.
actually right about 3 o'clock today. This is a previous request that she put in, so I printed it out. The cherry tree that's next to her house on Harmony between Third and Fourth. She wanted that one trimmed before it's growing towards the house, but she was saying that there's animals getting into her attic. By way, there's a tree that's putting holes in the fascia, and there's birds and other animals that are getting in that way. So she wanted to know if it could be trimmed so that like a bucket truck could go up and work on that. So it's both of those. And I said, is it the tree to the left or the right of the side door? And she wasn't sure. So, and again, this is not the application for that, but she just called. So that we can get an application from her and look at that at the next meeting as well.
Table.
I know we've looked at this one before.
Anticone.
Yeah,
And Furio suggested that one will be looked at again, the tree be looked at. She didn't put this in, but to see if it needed trimming again.
So this is right across the street from,
This is right next,
Okay.
yeah, right across the street from that, the other tree. I think this tree is on Fourth Street on the corner. As opposed to being that the Van Dyke tree is on Harmony in between the two streets.
I think we need to have a picture to be able to make a determination anyway, so, but we'll table that and handle it.
but this was Furio that said that this needs to be, should be looked at
Well,
again.
just to see if it's growing. Apparently, yeah, it's been trimmed. But
It was in this last year, that's the thing, we have to look at some of the, if we're, doing a trimming every year, we have to kind of regroup on that process.
So Judy, you think we should look at this one?
I think we need to look at it too. I make that motion.
Second.
Table.
All right, discussion. Vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
I know this one has no picture. Sarma.
that's one that had been looked at at a previous meeting. And I'm not sure if it's,
they've moved, by the way. They don't even live there anymore.
Oh, this is your neighbor, right?
Yeah.
Couple doors down.
and actually, it was at the first meeting, it was a double application because both they put it in and then the new owners put it in as well. Is that tree been removed?
I know Ron did some work on the bricks, so he
Yes.
made the tripping hazard that was there go away with his Ron magic. But the tree is still there.
Okay.
And it seems that was the issue here was the tree
Yeah,
was
yeah.
causing the bricks to go up, so
Right.
that's been
This
addressed.
is done.
Yeah, I would, if that's the issue, then I think it's
Then
been
it's been
corrected.
addressed.
Okay, and it does indicate in the minutes that he said the Second and Harmony Street, the brickwork had been repaired.
Mhm.
think I must have been looking at it with the other name because I couldn't find where we did. But, okay.
For all of our applications have been looked at, and we have a pile to look at before the next meeting, and it is unusual to have this many, but we haven't met for the last couple of months, and there might be a couple times during the year that I would need somebody to chair the meeting that might be out of town in October and June. But I'll
No problem.
I'm sure we can figure that.
yeah, I will know further. I will know more later.
The other position that the tree commission has is a secretary, which is not really a secretary, but if any letters need to go out, that was one thing that
Would be possible.
we were doing before, doing a letter to, especially,
So on Wednesday.
Wednesday.
you know, if a decision's made and it's gonna happen,
Maybe touch base.
we would send a letter out to them.
I have,
Especially if
work
it's
on
denied, so they can,
Okay,
so that.
was that on city's letterhead?
It was on the
letterhead?
city's letterhead. I had a sort of a, and it might be something that they could do when they talk to Mr. Barthel. They go into the office, just, here's the letter. It's sort of a form letter, but then it's basically taken from the minutes. This application denied this reason, accepted for this reason.
Okay.
So just, somebody that we can send those, I can send them out to everybody as opposed to just one person. I mean, Tom Maddox was the secretary, but that wasn't really something he was doing.
But it's something that, is it something that Scott would figure out with, when he discusses with Furio?
Right, it's something, I would assume it's something, if, when a decision is made, and especially, as I said, like a denial. We don't send them out for everything, but if we could, it's a very simple form letter. And it just gives you one more piece of,
So that's for the file, you know what you did.
right, and the person who put in the application gets some indication that it was seen,
Okay.
considered.
Would it be possible to give us a copy of something like that to
Mhm.
talk about next 2 weeks? So that's what Kim was saying, that in the past, a letter has gone out to people, especially when something has been denied, so that they have a,
So they know. at least
so yeah,
what
they have a
happened.
record of it. And that it goes out on city letterhead. So I guess the position would be as secretary, so Kim will print out something for us, and we can take a look, and we can talk about it at our next meeting.
That'll work. Thank you.
Pardon me?
I said, thank you, Kim.
Thank you, Kim.
And then,
And thank you for coming up with it.
Just following through with what.
well, I think Mr. Robinson did them at one point when he was when he was the chair.
Oh, it's good. It's a good idea. That's a good idea, and we know I think we're missing one person today, but it's really take an opportunity to say hello to Carl and welcome. You know, I've met your lovely wife. I don't know you as well as your lovely wife, and they're very talented.
Just as lovely.
Yes, I'm certain. But we're really glad to have you on board, and Walcott Davis hopefully will join us next week, next meeting. That's a new edition, our second new edition, and then we'll be fluffed out and
I'll send him the recording of this meeting, so he can watch it, and I'll have a packet for him, so he can sort of look through what you have.
great.
And just a reminder, since we have new people on, you can't discuss any tree commission stuff outside of the open meeting. So no walking tours with more than 3 people.
Yeah. Yeah, we can't hold a group like that without it being open to the public. So, but we can individually look at these things that we said we were going to look at. That's not an issue. But we can't, 3 of us can't go and do it. Okay, is there any other discussion, any other comments? Any other questions or? Okay. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Okay, we have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor? We'll just jump right to
Aye.
that. Aye, okay.
These aren't where they came from. and they ended up-
I deal with what I deal with.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kim.
Stay registered anymore.
Yeah, that's all, that's all.